What happens when the happiest day of your life becomes your most painful? For Sarah, surrounded by flowers and laughter, the air felt electric with expectation. Every detail was perfect, each moment a reflection of the love she believed would last forever. Friends and family gathered, their faces gleaming with joy, yet beneath the surface shadows began to stir. As she twirled in her beautiful gown, a smile plastered on her face, doubt crept in like a thief. What betrayal lurks behind her dream wedding? The cheerful melodies of the procession faded, leaving a discordant feeling in her chest, a whisper that something was amiss. Today was not just about a wedding. It was about identity and trust. With every step toward the altar, the weight of expectation bore down on her, tightening around her heart. How could love, seemingly so pure, hold such precarious dangers? As her heart fluttered with hope, it also trembled with a nagging uncertainty, one that would soon force her to confront a truth darker than she ever imagined. On what should have been the happiest day of her life, Sarah felt a fragile veneer of joy slipping away. Beneath the glittering decorations and the radiant smiles of her guests, betrayal lurked like a shadow, ready to shatter the dreams she had so carefully woven. The suffocating weight of expectation pressed against her chest, igniting a battle for her very identity. Can one moment of betrayal truly shatter a lifetime of dreams? She whispered to herself, glancing around at the laughter and celebration. The joy surrounding her felt almost mocking now, a stark contrast to the turmoil brewing inside. Just moments ago, the air had been filled with warmth. Now it thinned into icy whispers of doubt. Little did she know, this day would change everything. Amid the joyous celebration, Sarah stood resplendent in her wedding dress, the fabric shimmering against the soft glow of twinkling lights. Laughter and music wrapped around her like a warm embrace, filling her chest with a sense of belonging she had always dreamed of. Each smile from friends and family felt like a testament to the love that was about to officially bind her to James. Yet beneath the euphoria lingered a subtle whisper of doubt that tugged at her heart. Shaking off the feeling, she mingled with guests, sharing stories and indulging in the warmth of the moment. But as she ventured away from the bustling crowd, a desire for solitude beckoned her. She stepped into a quieter corner of the venue, hoping to catch her breath and soak in the gravity of the day. It was then that her gaze landed on James's phone, resting carelessly on a nearby table, its screen lit up with a message notification. Curiosity gnawed at her, and before she could fully comprehend her actions, she approached the device and peered at the screen. A chill gripped her heart as she read the flirty exchange between James and none other than her best friend, Anna. Each word cut through the celebratory atmosphere, stripping away the joy and replacing it with a suffocating weight of betrayal. Shock coursed through her as memories flooded her mind. The laughter shared during countless late-night talks, the dreams they spun together about the future, the steadfast loyalty she believed they held. The stark contrast between her once gleaming happiness and this sudden, raw vulnerability left her reeling. Sarah pressed a shaky hand to her chest, feeling the rhythm of her heart quicken as disbelief spiraled within her. How could someone she had trusted so completely betray her on such an important day? She looked around, the vibrant festivities suddenly tinged with a dull gray. The revelry felt like a cruel joke, drowning in the cold dread that settled heavily in the pit of her stomach. A moment of clarity washed over her, steeling her resolve. She had to confront the truth, no matter how painful it was. As she turned to head back to the reception hall, she glanced up and was startled to find Anna alone at the bar, a glass in her hand, her expression one of blissful ignorance. It was a portrait of false joy that ignited a fire in Sarah's heart. Thoughts raced through her mind, each one urging her closer to the edge of confrontation. "Sarah!" Anna exclaimed, surprise flickering across her face. Though it faltered under the weight of the tension heavy in the air, the moment crackled with unspoken words, a palpable sense of anxiety that made Sarah's stomach churn. She opened her mouth, the truth teetering on the tip of her tongue, ready to unravel the facade of friendship that now felt false. Just as she gathered the courage to confront her, a loud cheer erupted from the reception, ricocheting off the walls and stealing her focus. The jubilant sound cut through the tension like glass, wrapping layers of confusion around her heart. Standing there, suspended between revelation and hesitation, she felt the weight of uncertainty press down on her. Would she go through with the confrontation now, or would she retreat deeper into denial, leaving shadows unchallenged? In the dimly lit corner of the venue, away from the jubilant reception and laughter bubbling through the walls, Sarah felt her heart race against her ribcage. The air crackled with tension, each breath heavy with uncertainty as she faced Anna. This was the moment. Everything hung in the balance. "Anna, I know," Sarah's voice trembled, barely above a whisper, yet it carried the weight of 1,000 emotions. The words spilled out, laced with hurt and vulnerability. She watched as Anna's azure eyes widened, swimming in confusion as the realization washed over her. Surprise morphed into guilt, an emotion that twisted the very fabric of their friendship. "How could you?" Sarah's voice broke slightly, the accusation hanging like a lead weight. "You were supposed to be my best friend!" Anna's shoulders slumped as she began to speak, desperation spilling forth. "Sarah, I didn't mean for it to happen. I felt so inadequate next to you. I was tired of always being the one in your shadow." Her words began to reveal the insecurities nested deep within her, throwing light onto the fissures that had formed in their once solid bond. "You have everything, a perfect fiancé, a perfect family, and I don't feel good enough." In that moment, as Anna's confession filled the air, an unexpected fight welled up inside Sarah. She grappled with her need for loyalty to her friend against the trembling recognition of Anna's pain. Where had their friendship faltered? She recalled the countless memories they shared, the laughter, the secrets, the support, and now those moments felt built on fragile foundations, crumbling beneath the strain of betrayal. "All this time, I thought we were in this together," Sarah exclaimed, her words sharp and accusatory. "You took something from me. You took my trust." Anna flinched, the intensity of Sarah's accusation sending a shock through the space between them. "I wanted to tell you, but I was scared. I thought you'd hate me. But the truth is, I hated myself." Each word sliced through the remnants of trust they had built, echoing the jealousy and resentment that had long been buried under their laughter. As their confrontation spiraled into a cacophony of feelings, accusations, and the blistering reality of their choices, Sarah felt her resolve begin to splinter. She felt suffocated, as if the very walls of the room were closing in on her. The dream she'd held so tightly began to fragment, leaving her standing in the wreckage of her expectations. Retreating from Anna, her heart heavy with confusion, she stumbled into another room, desperate for a moment of clarity. Suddenly, the door opened, and Emily, her warm and compassionate cousin, entered, immediately sensing the turmoil on Sarah's face. "Hey, what's going on?" Emily asked gently, her voice a soothing balm in the chaos swirling within Sarah. I don't know if I can trust anyone anymore," Sarah admitted, tears prickling at her eyes. "Everything feels ruined." Emily stepped closer, her own experiences with betrayal fueling her empathy. You've faced hard things before, Sarah. Remember, you're stronger than you think. True strength lies in facing our worst fears. Her words resonated deeply, offering flickers of hope amidst the despair. Just as Sarah began to absorb her cousin's encouragement, a shadow loomed in the doorway. It was James, his expression caught between concern and guilt, stirring Sarah's insides like the rolling waves of a storm. The moment felt like a pause, an exhalation before the next break, heightening the emotional turmoil. What was she going to do now? Would she confront him again, or would her heart succumb to the heartbreak that loomed closer than ever? As Sarah stood across from James, her breath caught in her throat. His tentative approach sent a shiver down her spine, the reality of his presence enveloping her like a heavy fog. Apologies hung on his lips, but they felt insubstantial, mere wisps of air in the dense atmosphere charged with unspoken words. Here, in the shadows of her wedding day, a previous intimacy was now cloaked in suffocating tension, the fragrance of roses in the air doing little to mask the bitterness that had seeped into her heart. James paused, uncertainty flickering across his face, but Sarah could no longer let silence linger. Anger surged within her, fueled by the betrayal she felt shattering her hopes. How could you? On our wedding day. Her voice emerged steady but laced with hurt, a blend of disbelief and fury. Each word felt like a stone thrown into the still waters of their relationship, rippling with the consequences of his actions. This wasn't just about a mistake. It was about a marriage crumbling before it even began. He opened his mouth to respond, but the words felt tangled, dancing around the core of their confrontation. "It was a mistake," he blurted out, his tone dripping with dismissiveness that ignited the powder keg inside her. He seemed to categorize their entire relationship as a trivial folly of youthful naivete, further inflaming her rage. The vibrant dreams they had painted on the canvas of their love flickered and shifted, tainted by his careless dismissal. "Dreams?" Sarah shot back, her eyes blazing with a mix of sorrow and indignation. "The dreams you swore were worth fighting for? What happened to those promises, James?" She felt the weight of every unfulfilled moment clawing its way to the surface. The laughter, the plans, the whispered secrets, now twisted into memories that suffocated rather than comforted. Underneath the heat of her anger, she saw him begin to unravel, the mask he wore slipping away. Vulnerability seeped into his voice. "I felt trapped, okay?" he admitted, shame spilling from his heart. "Stuck in this life we built. I didn't know how to escape." His admission struck a chord within her, forcing Sarah to confront her own role in the labyrinth of their relationship. Wasn't she too tied to the expectations surrounding them? Their emotions crackled like electricity between them, the burden of their intertwined lives almost tangible. As he reached toward her, a desperate plea in his eyes, she instinctively recoiled, not just from the fear of what that touch might mean, but from the staggering realization of her own power, mixed with profound hurt. "Don't." The simple word felt like a boundary drawn in the sand, marking the line between the past and the suffocating present. The air felt heavy with accusation and an unsteady search for understanding. Their complex emotional exchange wrapped them in a strange blend of accusation and empathy, neither truly able to grasp the fragile nature of their connection. Just as Sarah hovered on the brink of a decision, one that might change everything, the buzz of her phone jolted her back to reality. Glancing down, her stomach dropped at the sight of the message. "I'm sorry. Please meet me," it read, sent from Anna. Confusion swirled within her, complicating her heart already entangled in turmoil. What did this even mean for her? The fragile threads of her life seemed ready to unravel further, setting the stage for yet another revelation, one she wasn't sure she was ready to face. Torn between the urge to confront Anna and her desire to escape the ongoing heartbreak, Sarah felt adrift in a sea of conflicting emotions. She had spent the last few hours wrestling with her decision. Anger boiled just beneath the surface, mingling with a profound sadness that threatened to pull her under. The wedding festivities danced around her, vivid joy contrasting sharply against the turmoil in her heart. Inhaling deeply, Sarah steeled herself for the meeting, driven by a mix of fury and hurt. As she pushed open the door to the dimly lit cafe tucked away from the celebrations, the atmosphere enveloped her like a heavy blanket. The shadows seemed to mirror her internal conflict, the flickering candles casting a warm glow that felt entirely out of place. Her heart raced, punctuated by the soft clinks of cups and the murmurs of laughter that filled the air, oblivious to her growing dread. Anna sat in a far corner, her figure slumped as if the weight of her choices bore down heavily on her shoulders. The moment their eyes met, a flicker of regret flashed across Anna's face. "I'm glad you came," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know why I'm here," Sarah responded, frustration seeping into her tone. What could you possibly say that would make this right? Anna swallowed hard, her eyes glistening. "I know I've hurt you, and I don't expect you to forgive me, but I need you to understand my side." With tension thickening the air between them, Sarah found herself frozen, caught in the web of betrayal, complicated further by the ache of a fractured friendship. What was it worth to you, Anna? Was it worth losing everything? "I felt trapped," Anna confessed, her voice trembling. "In my own life. I kept looking at yours, thinking that if I could have just a piece of it, maybe I'd feel complete." An uncomfortable silence stretched, each word clawing at Sarah's heart. The revelation hit hard. Here were two women bound together by societal expectations, both struggling under the weight of unfulfilled desires. "So you thought hurting me would help you?" Sarah argued, fury bubbling up again. "No, I thought it would help me gain something I never had. I made a terrible mistake," Anna pressed, her expression shifting to one of earnest sorrow. "I didn't mean to betray you, but my own dissatisfaction blinded me." As they continued speaking, Sarah's anger began to ebb in the face of Anna's vulnerability. Something shifted within her, a flicker of understanding amidst the wreckage. She struggled to reconcile her betrayal with the pain of her friend's confession. "So, we're both victims of our situations?" she mused, grappling with the complexity of it all. "Yes," Anna replied quietly, tears spilling as she battled her own emotions. "This society keeps telling us what we should want, and when we don't get it, we seek it in ways that hurt others." Still, the air between them crackled with unresolved tension. Each revelation was cathartic yet painful, Anna's words unearthing buried resentments. Sarah's heart raced as she began questioning the very fabric of her identity, which had been shaped by dreams of love and loyalty, turned upside down. Just as the conversation reached a critical juncture, Sarah's phone buzzed violently against the table. Leaping in surprise, she glanced at the screen. It was Emily, her voice frantic. "You need to come home right now. Something important has happened." Panic flooded Sarah's veins, a sharp contrast to the calmer emotions she'd begun to entertain moments ago. "What are you talking about?" she demanded, her heart pounding anew with a sense of foreboding. "Please, just trust me," Emily pleaded, urgency lacing her tone. With that, Sarah felt the ground shift beneath her. The weight of one upheaval might soon be compounded by another, and she was left grappling with the unknown, torn between the resolve to seek closure with Anna and the ominous call demanding her attention. Rushed and anxious, Sarah hurried down the dimly lit street toward Emily's home, her heart pounding with dread. Each step felt heavy with a chill of uncertainty that clung to her, echoing the turmoil whirling inside her chest. The comforting warmth of the cafe was now a distant memory, replaced by the biting weight of suspicion and fear. As she pushed open the door, Sarah found Emily pacing back and forth in the modest living room, visibly shaken. The urgency in Emily's breakdown shattered the calm of the evening, and Sarah's stomach twisted with apprehension. "Sarah," Emily said, her voice strained and urgent. "It's about James. I heard something you need to know." With those words, Sarah's world narrowed to the intensity of Emily's gaze, her heart racing as she sought to grasp the gravity of the moment. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice trembling. Emily took a deep breath, her hands shaking slightly. "He's been living a dual life, Sarah," she revealed. "There are things you don't know, lies that have twisted the love you thought you had." A suffocating silence enveloped them, and with each word, the threads of Sarah's heart began to unravel. It wasn't just betrayal. It was the sudden realization that everything she believed in was built on a fragile facade. Memories of conversations with Anna now felt tainted, each shared moment murky with deception. As Emily spoke, detailing the betrayal painfully, Sarah felt as if the ground had been pulled from under her. Infidelities and schemes blurred, painting a picture of chaos where she once saw devotion. "No, it can't be true," she whispered, shock paralyzing her. "It is," Emily said softly. "You deserve to understand the truth. You're so much more than this. Than him." Each revelation struck like a thunderclap, darkening the room with the weight of betrayal. Tears stung Sarah's eyes, mixing anger and sorrow in an overwhelming tide. Emily's voice softened, enveloping Sarah in a blanket of support. "You have to remember your worth, Sarah. This doesn't define you. We've all faced our struggles, and you are not alone." They exchanged glances, an unspoken understanding flowing between them. The collective pain and strength of womanhood radiated, lifting Sarah slightly out of her despair. "It's just... how can he do this?" Her voice broke, battling the emotional storm inside her. "I don't know, but you can rise from this," Emily said, each word laced with conviction. "Knowing your worth is the first step toward healing." Yet, as Emily continued unraveling more specifics about James's duplicity, how desperation and insecurity had spurred him on, the contrast between Sarah's perception of their love and the unsettling reality became painfully clear. Pain erupted within her. Every detail forced her to confront the idealism she had wrapped around her heart. Just as Sarah struggled to digest the overwhelming news, the weight of her dreams collapsing around her, an unexpected knock on the door rattled the stillness that had settled. Both women jumped at the sound, the tension thick in the air. "Who could that be?" Sarah whispered, dread pooling in her stomach. "Is it James?" Emily asked, eyes wide, fear mixing with curiosity. "Or is it someone else?" As Sarah looked toward the door, she felt the ground shift again, her heart racing not just with dread, but with the uncertainty of what the next chapter might hold. Every ending is a new beginning waiting to happen. Sarah's heart raced as she approached the door, uncertainty wrapping around her like a heavy blanket. She could feel it stifling her, but she pressed on, inhaling deeply as if trying to fill her lungs with courage. Gathering her thoughts, she pushed the door open, revealing James standing on the doorstep. His expression was a mix of trepidation and hope, and for a moment, time felt suspended. The air between them was thick with unresolved feelings, a stark contrast to the dreams and laughter they had once shared. James stepped forward, his hands raised slightly, as if to indicate he posed no threat. "Sarah," he began, his voice tentative, "I know I messed up." but Sarah felt her emotional wall firm up, fortified by the weight of betrayal. "You think words are enough now?" she shot back, surprise lacing her tone. "You think you can just show up and make everything okay again?" James's face fell. He tried to soften his approach, but it only heightened her anger. "I've been working on myself. I've been seeing someone to help confront my demons," he offered, the sincerity in his voice wavering against the rocky foundation of their trust. Yet, inside, Sarah was a whirlwind of emotions. Part of her heart yearned for reconciliation, tempted by memories of what they had, while another part screamed for self-preservation, drowning in fear of further hurt. She could feel the conflict consuming her. What did she truly desire in this fractured relationship? "Is this just a plea?" she questioned, cutting through his defenses like a knife. "Or are you really ready to face what you've done?" For all his attempts at vulnerability, uncertainty lingered in the air like fog that wouldn't lift. "I'm sorry, truly. I know I have commitment issues. My past has haunted me for too long, but I don't want to lose you," he implored, desperation creeping into his tone as he reached out, fingers brushing against her arm. "I need you to understand that." Sarah grappled with the mix of sorrow for his struggles and her need for safety. Could she ever find it within herself to trust him again? Bitterness washed over her. The memories of their laughter now felt tainted. "You reshaped everything we had, James. The illusions you cast linger, even now." As they spoke, the tension between them escalated, thickening the air with every word exchanged. There were layers to peel back, but she feared what they might reveal. "How can I ever forget?" she pressed on, her voice trembling. "Everything you've done changed who I am. I have to protect myself." James stepped closer, frustration evident in his features. "I'm scared of losing you for good. You don't know how hard this is for me," he admitted, vulnerability flashing in his eyes. Just as he finished speaking, a pivotal moment hung in the balance. Sarah's future lay ahead like an unexplored path, and she felt the fire of determination light within her. "Maybe it's time to leave the past behind," she said softly, her voice steady, a quiet strength emerging. But what would that future entail as she took that step? The uncertainty lingered in the air, charged and electric. As she turned to walk away, the unspoken answer stirred deep within her. A gust of wind, signaling the storm ahead. The weight of everything crashed down on Sarah as she stepped outside, the world beyond the door oddly tranquil compared to the storm swirling within her. "Every ending is a new beginning waiting to happen," she whispered to herself, a feeble attempt at hope against the chaos in her heart. The stillness of the street contrasted sharply with the turmoil inside her, raw, clashing emotions that refused to settle. In that moment, she felt unanchored yet stirred by a nascent realization, a flicker of independence sparking amidst the wreckage of her expectations. Days wove together as Sarah found refuge in her grandmother's letters, the fragile paper, holding a wisdom that had long anchored her family. Each note brought warmth to her shaken spirit, urging her to reflect upon her choices and propelling her forward on a path of self-discovery. "You are worthy of all that is good, my dear," one letter urged, ink smudged from her grandmother's tears. Sarah clutched it to her heart, feeling the embrace of a loving presence guiding her. Those lovingly penned notes became her lifeline, a bridge to reclaim her identity without the need for a partner, the ties of dependency loosening with each word she read. As she immersed herself in the letters, memories flooded back, laughter shared in sunlight, lessons learned beneath the starlit skies of her childhood. These recollections gradually shifted her understanding of love from one of dependency to an acceptance of self. So much joy was always there, waiting for me, she whispered to herself, the dialogue resonating deeply within her. Each page turned symbolized a step toward liberation, and her heart danced with potential as she flipped through stories of resilience and love. The photographs tucked within the envelopes sparked something bold and ambitious. They painted a picture of the world outside, the very dreams she had shelved during her relationship with James. Travel, explore, live, she mused, her eyes sparkling with untapped excitement. Bright destinations and adventures faded into view, illuminating aspirations once dimmed by betrayal. "I can do this," she declared, heart racing as she began crafting a new narrative, enriched by growth and resilience. In a burst of courage, Sarah took a leap. She clicked through the online course catalog, each listing igniting a sense of purpose. When she saw the one she had always dreamed of pursuing, she did not hesitate. Enrolled. It was a defining moment. Her past, shedding like the last rays of a sunset. That night, she stood in front of the mirror, a smile breaking through the uncertainty. "This is just the beginning," she told her reflection, feeling a shift within her. A rebirth. Just when the flush of excitement began to settle in, her phone vibrated against the table. A stark reminder of her former life. An unknown number. Her heart raced as the message lit up the screen, cryptic words hinting at more secrets waiting to unfold around James. "What now?" she whispered, anxiety creeping in like a shadow, threatening to darken her newfound light. Could this mystery text alter the course of her independence? Only time would tell. Sarah stared at her phone, the world around her blurring into the background. Her heart pounded in her chest as if it were warning her to turn away, to shield herself from what lay ahead. The message still glowed on the screen, tiny letters dancing like ghosts in her mind. Could it have been a mere coincidence? An innocent text from someone who had nothing to do with her life? Yet the weight of uncertainty pressed heavily on her chest, suffocating her joy like a blanket of fog. In this whirlwind of deceit, where can one find the anchor of truth? She pondered, her fingers trembling as she fought the urge to respond. The betrayal felt like shards of glass embedded deep within her heart. The vivid image of James, smiling, loving, and completely unaware of the storm brewing, flashed in her mind. How could he keep secrets so well, and how had she failed to see the signs? Her independence, once a dazzling jewel in her life, now felt stained and tarnished, entangled within an intricate web of lies. A familiar voice pulled her back. "Sarah, are you okay?" Her best friend Mia stood before her, concern etched into her features. "I'm not sure," Sarah replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's just, what if this is something terrible?" Mia stepped closer, warmth radiating from her presence. "Whatever it is, you don't have to face it alone. Just remember, true love should never come with conditions." The words hung in the air, resonating deeply within Sarah. She thought of all the times she had compromised herself, wishing that James would finally meet her halfway. How could she have thought their love was unconditional if he was holding back? She revealed herself to him, offering the most vulnerable parts of her being, while he tended to his own hidden corners. Betrayal teaches us that true love should never come with conditions. The essence sank into her, echoing through the chambers of her heart. Tears threatened to spill over as the reality of that lesson washed over her. She had a choice: to empower herself through this darkness or remain shackled by the chains of unreciprocated trust. Taking a deep breath, Sarah's resolve began to harden. Gathering her thoughts, she glanced at Mia. "I think I need to confront him," she said, her voice strong yet quivering with pent-up emotions. "Whenever you are ready," Mia said, placing a firm hand on her shoulder. The emotional turmoil within Sarah surged, and she looked up at Mia, feeling both grateful and scared. Have you ever faced a situation that shifted your understanding of trust? Share your story below. The thought resonated with her. She wasn't alone in this. As her heart raced, she envisioned each moment spent unraveling the truth, for every step closer revealed another fragment of clarity. The depth of her journey burgeoned with golden threads of hope twisting around the core of despair, a tapestry woven with the strength she had yet to fully grasp. Join our community as we navigate complex relationships and uncover the truth behind betrayal. Your journey matters here, she felt herself say, even with her heart still in turmoil. Stay strong and keep seeking the truth. See you in our next emotional unraveling. With those words, Sarah took a final deep breath. Preparing herself to face whatever tomorrow held, she would unearth the truth, no matter what.